What's up guys, leftstickrightstick again with another LittleBigPlanet team pick review. Today we have a World Cup edition to celebrate, the Russia 2018 World Cup starting. And LBP team picks are all football themed this week, or they're just doing a special football theme for this weekend. I think there might be some new team picks out on Monday as well, just for the normal team picks. But first up, we've got World Cup Russia 2018, and it's these are all multiplayer levels pretty much, and so I've been sort of trying to play mostly by myself, and this one's quite nice. You get to pick teams, which gives it a bit more sense to the World Cup bit. But the only difference it makes is it changes what the flag your players are, and you can change between players here. So you actually have to manage a team of 3 players, all at the same time. You can change between the goalkeeper and then 2 other players. The goalkeeper is sort of tied into his little box, and some of the sort of outlines and boundaries look a little weird here. They don't really quite line up in terms of proportions, but never mind that. I mean, we're on a top-down view, and the timing actually goes quite quick, I have to say, in this level. But it's still pretty good. I really like the sort of changing players sort of element in this. Gives it a bit more of a nice feel to it. Although the thing that really does annoy me is the ball doesn't magnetize to any of your players, and it's just all about bumping. It's more like bumper cars. It's sort of like bumper cars with the ball, more so than actually, it's more like rugby league than it is football. But it's still a really nice pick. Next up, we have Strike Stadium Soccer by Strike. This one, you're going to get to pick teams. You are either Germany or France, and you've got two players you can choose from. It doesn't seem to make any difference what you sort of pick from them. There's got a steal button, which it's the same as the shoot button, but still stealing. It doesn't seem like there's any point in the steal button because the ball again doesn't magnetize your character. But what I really like about this level is the stadium. The stadium, not so much just the stadium itself, but there's actually things outside that stadium. Once you get that goal shot, you can actually see outside the stadium in the car park area, which is kind of neat. And I really like the effort that Strike has gone into making these players actually out of stickers. They actually move. They can move, their legs. They're running about, their arms, which is really nice. Although it's a bit of a shame that the pitch boundary isn't there. The ball just bounces off the wall and everything. There's no corners. There's nothing. But I guess there's not much you can really expect, I guess, from an LBP attempt at football, or as many people have said, have called in the LBP levels, soccer. Pretty much this one is similar to the previous level. It's all about bumping in and just pressing the slamming the shoot button when you're trying to bump into the ball, just because there's no dribble really effect. And I really like you can also have that running and speed boosting. So that's a really nice level. Next up we have LBP Soccer by brucethejam. This one, again, they're all quite similar in terms of most of them are like top-down views and whatnot. But this one, there is some form of magnetization of the ball to your player, which is much appreciated feature, to be honest. It makes things a lot more easier to control and sort of direct and everything. I'm not really good at FIFA games and whatnot, but so these are the sort of things that I like as a novice player. But what is really great about this level compared to the other ones is that you can actually change the view. This one's got a top-down view as well as a side-angle view. I prefer the side-angle view to top-down view, just because it just seems more fun, maybe? This way, top-down view makes it look more bland. This one seems more like dynamic and active. But this one it does have sort of the bouncing off the walls sort of element. For some reason, sometimes when the ball sort of hits the side, it sort of drags itself along to the corner for some reason. I'm not quite sure if that's just a glitch of the level or not, but that maybe is sort of a nice little addition, I guess. But this one, I mainly like the LBP Soccer sort of magnetism of the ball. Really makes it much more enjoyable, because you're not just always having to just chance hitting the ball and bumping into it, which is really great. And next up we have LBP Smash Soccer by viinssouille. And it's nice that they have actually another team selection thing, but what really intrigued me was there is a punch control in this level for some reason. Why is there a punch control? And also, I don't quite understand why there's sort of a running track around this sort of level. It's sort of LBP Smash Soccer has made it sort of seem more like, it's more like hockey, ice hockey. Like you have sort of the goals sort of not quite at the boundary. The ball bounces around in the back and there's still no penalties. So this is not quite much a soccer or football game as it is more like an ice hockey. Everything that, the whole play aspect of it is how you'd expect ice hockey to go. You can like dribble it all around the goal and just sort of walk it in from like circling the goal. It's this is definitely not a football level, but nevertheless, it is still quite nice in terms of the controls. For an ice hockey level, it's quite good. And again, we've got the sort of the magnetism of the ball, which is actually quite useful. The punch feature is, you can't punch in football. That's a foul. You get free kicks and penalties for that. So I don't know why viinssouille has added a punch feature. Maybe he just reskinned a sort of ice hockey level, and there is punching or sort of knocking in ice hockey. But I do like sort of the goal element is quite nice as well in viinssouille's level. Next up we have Fantasista by Imataka, and it's probably my favorite sort of level of all these team picks. The Fantasista levels, just because stadium is awesome, the camera angles are awesome. The thing that's a bit off-putting is sort of the title text. It doesn't quite seem to have magnetism, but it's got a goal kick element that's really cool. And there's technically you control two characters, although you can't seem to switch between the two, and you just kind of just go with it. But then there's a power level to your kicks, which is actually quite nice. So it's a hold button, you just hold it, and the power bar just goes up. And it does seem like there's also layers involved in this, which sort of seems to make it a bit more interesting, I guess. Although I didn't quite manage to figure it all out. And sort of what was a bit of a shame is sort of the timer thing for the how much time left and the sort of which half you're in looks a bit too bland. But the camera angles are sort of the best feature about this whole level, and it's great that you can actually quite easily miss, even from a side-on view. I mean, you wouldn't expect, maybe it wouldn't be so easy to miss, but it's actually quite possible, and you can sort of chip things over other players, which is also nice. And you've got a jump element, so that's actually also really good. Imataka has also created another of the team picks, which is Fantasista Penalty Kick Battle. And again, just like the previous one, camera angles are really on point. This one is quite difficult to play on my own, and there's also Fantasista PK Battle has actually improved on the UI a bit. It looks a bit more cool and sort of techy rather than the previous one. It's got some sort of crayon lighting. But this one, where you're moving around, you're moving your sort of aim around. You can choose your power level by holding it again, and it's up to the other player to sort of judge where to jump around. This one, thankfully enough, can be played single player, and it's all about just being able to psych out the other player following this cursor moving around. But clearly I didn't quite, even playing the computer, I didn't quite seem to work out exactly how it worked out from the sort of receiving end, because my shots sort of follow where my cursor ends up. The computer's one, I swear it didn't end up in the same spots where it aimed at. I tried to follow it, maybe it tried to psych me out. I tried to psych it out, but I didn't quite manage to try to do it. See, sometimes it just doesn't quite work. I'm not quite sure at what point really does the actual kick take place, when you press the button or where the cursor ends. Otherwise, if it's cursor ends, you can actually tell from the on-screen prompts. But next up is Little Big Penalties by Doubleyou. It's got a nice, really great sort of intro video segments, which is nice. I really think that was really cool, nice addition to the whole level. But this one's much more easier to control, and this one both players sort of follow the on-screen cursors. So the circular one is the kicker, penalty kicker taker, and then the red one's sort of the goalie. And so you just got to try and sort of match it up, and just at the final time line up and block it. So this is much more easier to sort of interpret how to actually deal with the actual shots and stuff. And I really like how sort of the characters change on the top on the screen. There's a little shifting light door that changes you around, which is really cool. And there's actually time limits on this one as well. So if you take too long, the shot will just take wherever your last thing stands, which is actually very nice. I think that's actually a great addition. Also, the diving mechanic looks really nice on this as well. So this one's a much better I think in terms of mechanics-wise, the penalty kick, although the aesthetics was probably better on the Fantasista PK Battle. Of all the other levels, Fantasista, the normal football level, Fantasista is probably one of the best looking two of the normal ones. And then finally, just for a little extra fun, we have Table Soccer HD by FabFio71, and it looks really impressive. I really like the whole look, and it's great that they've got sort of the actual flicking score cube things, which is really nice. What really does annoy me was sort of these, even though you can actually kick backwards, the animation looks like you only got this little bounce pad that you shove forward, and you can't. It's not like really spinning one of the actual poles of the players. It's sort of you just do forward and possibly back. Although that may be just maybe a limitation of LBP. They couldn't quite do the animation for that, and also sort of it just felt slow though. I have to say in this level, this Table Soccer HD felt a bit slow, and surprisingly, we can actually glitch the ball out of the table. But great thing about it is that Fabio is sort of taking care of that. There's sort of I think maybe a time limit timer to see if you haven't touched the ball within a certain time limit, the ball just comes back in as a new play, which is really great. I like sort of that he's thought of that detail. But it's sort of the animation just gets annoying, and maybe it could be a bit faster in sort of the dynamic of this ball, because sometimes it goes really slowly, and we can't also knock it on the side as well. This knocking on the side doesn't quite work out as well. But these are some great football levels. I hope you definitely check them out. The links will be in the description below as always, and I hope you enjoyed this team pick review for the World Cup levels in LBP. If you're supporting a team, let me know in the comments below which ones of these levels you like the most. If you don't enjoy, and I'll see you next time.